Well, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite written Ralph talking to you straight from our show here, Apple Bites, where we take a bite out of the apple and share it with you. Of course, we have our beautiful host, Mata Sorcier.
Hello.
And down below, until I fix this, okay, let's get the guest on top here. All right, there you go.
My, how the tables have turned.
Yes. We have Chuck and Patrick.
What's up?
Hello.
So I think we'll start this off, and Chuck, we'll have you start first. Introduce yourself and tell the audience who you are, what you do, and all the good stuff. Go for it.
Oh, lovely. All right, let's see. Chuck Suffel. I'm a comic book writer, ex-comic book journalist, and I put out a book called Sherlock Holmes and the Wonderland Conundrum, which was a mashup of Sherlock Holmes and the characters of Wonderland minus Alice. It takes place in London during Sherlock Holmes' time. He stumbles across a case where he's searching for a young blonde girl, and he meets a lot of weirdos on the way. It's a lot of fun. It was an interesting story to play with. The book's been out for a while. It's doing pretty well. I have it out in digital and in physical, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's my first self-published, 100% my book. Up until now, I've been in compilations and anthologies and stuff like that. So this was the first full-length comic I wrote, produced, and published.
And that's always a good thing to be proud of because we all aspire to get there, and I know you guys have all gotten there already. I'm working my way there. Sooner or later, the journey will lead me to where you guys have gotten to.
Excellent.
It's the only thing.
Matt has her book, and Patrick had his book, and Chuck got his book. So Patrick, go ahead. Tell all the people who you are, what you do, all the good stuff. Go for it.
All right. I'm Patrick Coyle. I am also a comic book writer. I put out my first self-published book about a year ago through Kickstarter called Bixby Private Eye. That one was subtitled Wolf She Cried. It was a standalone 72-page graphic novel. And currently, I have a Kickstarter for the follow-up, which is a series. It's going to be a 6-issue series called Bixby Private Eye, Fangs and Brimstone, which is about Bixby Grant is actually a mummy detective. You can see him actually right over here. This is him right there.
That's pretty cool back there.
Thanks. He was a 1930s beat cop who busted up a museum heist and unleashed the curse of the pharaoh and became a living mummy. So, of course, he went on to become a private eye and now lives in modern day and is not happy about it. He goes kicking and screaming pretty much into every case. He's got a lot of trauma in his past that he doesn't like to deal with. He's got a lot of old school values and ideas. And so now I get to play with how that bounces off the modern world.
That's an interesting concept. I was wondering, because as I was looking through it, I was like, okay, so how did he become a mummy? I like the explanation. I like where you went with it. The whole museum aspect of it. If it gives it a nice 40s feel to it, and then you bring him into modern times, you're just trying to torture this guy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. And Chuck and Mana, I'm sure you can relate to this. Is when you have your character, you want to put them through their paces, right? You want to give them as much,
That's the fun part.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly the fun part.
Yes.
Is really,
if you're not torturing your main characters, you're not doing it right.
100%. Right. Because that's the whole fun. Whether it's going to be funny or dramatic, it's still going to be their reaction to whatever is put in their way. Right. So that's drama.
That's definite.
And what they learn, how they change, how it shapes their opinions, like all that good stuff.
I like what John's saying here. Just once, can't the private eye be happy?
Not this one. Nope.
I feel like you can't be a private eye without some degree of angst and emotional baggage.
Yeah.
Of course,
totally.
That's the classic noir, right? The haunted protagonist.
They couldn't solve their own problems, so they have to solve everyone else's.
That's right.
Sherlock Holmes, the detective of detectives, he has total angst, complete angst. Of course. Definitely. He even becomes a drug addict for a while.
And he hides it beneath a veneer of disdain and aloofness that just it makes him such an obnoxious and fun character to play with.
Exactly.
It really is. That's I will say that out of all the detectives, I'm a big detective fan. I grew up on Holmes and also like Rockford Files and all sorts of different types. Holmes was never my favorite detective. He was just the most fun to play with, if that makes sense. Like I would much rather hang out with Jim Rockford or like Simon and Simon or Magnum or one of those guys. They seem like a lot more fun.
Yeah, I would touch Holmes if I had to hang out with them. Like,
yes.
Within like the first 45 seconds, guaranteed. Like he'd say something and just like fist to face.
Exactly. Yeah, he'd be obnoxious and tick you off. Exactly. No,
Totally.
that's why it was fun to write.
I gotta say, I completely agree. As big of a Sherlock Holmes fan as I am, Sherlock can get on your nerves.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's what made writing this book fun, because I got to put characters against him that I knew would annoy him. That was the whole point. The very idea of Holmes tripping over Tweedledee and Tweedledum was too much fun to play with. You have to go there. You have to have fun with that.
Oh my God, I can imagine.
Well played.
It was a lot of fun to write. It really was.
Because the characters in Alice in Wonderland are so annoying. Like I cannot stand those characters.
They are infuriating by design.
Exactly.
Right? I know, but it still ticks me off all the time. Like whenever I encounter them. So put them together with the insufferable, attitude of Sherlock Holmes, and they're gonna get some sparks, some fireworks.
Amazing.
Patrick, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
How much did you focus on the mystery itself? And I haven't read your book. I haven't seen it yet. I'd like to, but how much did you focus on the mystery and the the actual the core mystery, and how much did you focus on character and interaction?
Oh, quick thing, Ralph, can you bring up the Kickstarter, or should I? I could do it.
It's right there. Okay.
You got
it? All right, Ralph, but you got writers on here, so.
So yeah, Chuck, to your question, I on the first one, on the one I did last year, I focused really heavily on character. And I had never written a mystery before, even though for 20 years I've been planning on making this character. I never sat down and thought about like, what are the mysteries going to be? I thought more about the world building and about the characters and the supporting characters. So to be honest, the mystery is rather weak. And I'm not saying that's just to be self-effacing. Like I've gotten those kind of notes from people. But that said, the point of the story isn't the mystery. Like I know that about myself as a writer. Like I'm not going to come up with the big whodunit that you didn't see coming. Like this is supposed to be maybe a notch or two above Scooby-Doo, right? Like it's not supposed to. It's not.
Okay, some of those Scooby-Doo mysteries were really difficult.
Exactly.
I always thought it was red herring.
I absolutely empathize. I had the same situation, because really what I was writing was a story about characters and how they interacted. And I'm not Doyle. I'm not going to write a Doyle level mystery. I know that.
Right.
I aspired to have something interesting, but I really did feel that the character was the thing in this specific story. I don't know if I'll ever write another mystery, because it is hard to maintain that to really write the depth you need to write to have a good mystery.
Yeah. I mean, I would put, a good mystery in quotes, in that I'm following several of the kind of templates that you mentioned, the TV templates, the Rockford Files or Magnum PI, which my wife and I watched almost the entire run of Magnum PI during the pandemic. It was our comfort show. And so, you at each commercial break, every 15 minutes, you get another clue, or then the twist comes at 45 minutes past. And so I'm working within a template just so I can make it work as a mystery, but really, really not about like any kind of big gotcha or anything. Like this is not going to be Glass Onion or Murder on the Nile or any of those kind of things. Like it's going to be, it's really about some hoo-ha action and having fun and digging the characters.
But it's funny though, because we all know that a lot of the times, even with the shows that we mentioned, Magnum and the rest of them, sometimes it's more about the detective and what the detective is doing, and there's not really a mystery. Maybe he's doing something that has to do with being a detective, but there's sometimes the mystery is a minimum, because sometimes you want to know the character, you want to know the detective, you want to know what he's up to,
Well, especially in a series. Especially in a series format. In a series format, you're going to want to like the character and the characters. I think that's why those TV shows and some of the novels tended to rely more on that. Holmes was all short stories. You know, they were not meant to be, you know, a TV series like as they were adapted. That's not how they were done. If you read like the old Chandler stuff and you know, Hammett, those books are constructed specifically to be a mystery. You could almost half the time you could put any detective in that and the story would still play out well. I prefer, and I love those books. I grew up on all that stuff. I'm a book guy before everything else. I'm an old ex-Barnes and Noble employee, but this stuff is fun stuff. When you actually deal with character and sort of the sociology of the detective world, that's fun. You know, that's just fun stuff.
Dude, 100%. Yeah, I love the Chandler and Hammett and all that kind of stuff, and I still read it. I mean, there's so much of it out there. You know, aside from those two particular authors, there are thousands of other, you know, not dime store knockoff authors over the years. And there's the what's that series? They started a few years ago. It's got the little yellow tag on the upper right of all the books. They started doing the painted covers, and it's like, it's not Black Label, but it's something like that. Damn it! Stephen King even wrote a novel for it a couple years back called Colorado Kid. It was a Western. Oh, okay. What is? Damn it! Getting old sucks. But it'll come to me. I know an hour after we go off the air. But anyways,
you can always come back into the comment section and go, "It's this."
I probably will. I'll probably have to do that. But there's so much good stuff out there, and it's like you said, it's pretty much all character based, and it also depends on how hardcore you want it to get. Hard case. Thank you, Blake.
Blake is the real MVP.
From Titan. There you go. Thank you so much.
That's why you like having people in the audience, because they help you out.
Yeah, it's the best. Yeah, so there's tons of great stuff to draw on, and I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel. I am looking to invent my own world and have those kinds of stories in it. So in particular for this one, like the one I did a year ago was constructed like a noir mystery, very much that structure. This one is more of a buddy action kind of story. And the characters you can see on the screen now, there's Diego, the rockabilly vampire, is going to be his sidekick essentially for this story, much to Bix's chagrin. He's a character that I've had in my head for 20 years, and so I'm finally getting to play with him, and it's a lot of fun.
Dude, you said about Scooby-Doo moments, and you actually put a Scooby-Doo moment right here.
Yeah.
This is classic Scooby-Doo right there.
100%. Like, I actually used those old green ghouls from like the very first season as reference to Gonzalo. I was like, because the first design wasn't quite there, and I was like, I want him to be something a little more like this, and so it's not that far from it, and I think it looks great. I think it's a lot of fun.
Well, it looks fantastic. I like as soon as I saw that, I was like, ooh, I like this. But I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan too.
Love it. I love Scooby-Doo. Have since I was a kid.
And I can see the love story here.
The artist is named Gonzalo Martinez. He lives in Chile. He worked on the first book with me and is now on for these 6 issues as well. He's been working mostly internationally, not surprisingly, and not in kind of mainstream comics. He's been doing a lot of, he does some creator-owned stuff in Spanish language comics that are published in South America and overseas. And he works with some Australian publishers, I believe, as well. But he is a great storyteller, a really great draftsman. I think his characters have really good facial expressions and a lot of good acting to them. And he's also he was previously an architect before he switched careers, and so he's really good.
Why he's good with perspective.
Yeah,
he's so good with perspective. I went to art school and I hate perspective, especially trying to fit organic things like figures and animals or cars into perspective that have, you know, rounded edges and stuff, and he's just so good at it. Now this is the backup story here. This is also by an artist named Gonzalo, but this is Gonzalo Ruggieri, who I believe is Argentinian. I've actually
are you only hiring Gonzalos? Because that would be kind of
I know. I've started calling them the Gonzalos, and are any of them on right now? So I apologize. but it's just an easy shorthand. So there's Gonzalo R and Gonzalo M. This is Gonzalo R. He is obviously a very different style, but I wanted something quite different for this backup story, which features Detective Ramirez. Can get the words out tonight. Who is a supporting character from the Bixby Grant stories, but she only pops up like when it's time to get the bad guys at the end, or when Bix is fishing for a clue or whatever. So this is a story about her going to find what happened to her police captain father who disappeared 20 years ago. And there's a section of town called Zombie Town, which is like a 5 square block area that had a zombie outbreak like 30 years ago. And rather than deal with it, they just kind of fenced it off and left it for dead. It's really an excuse for, there. Yeah, I mean,
left it
that would happen for real somewhere because somebody didn't want to deal with it or have the funds to deal with it.
Definitely. Yeah, but it's the government would be like, it costs too much, just close it off.
Right. That's pretty much what the excuse that I'm giving in this. But it's just really so I have a way to tell zombie stories whenever I want without having to, tell a new, virus outbreak or whatever. I'm like, no, some zombies got out of Zombie Town. It's fine.
Smart.
That's actually a pretty good idea, actually. It does leave you open for okay, cool. So we need a zombie. He escaped.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right. Exactly. So originally I was thinking about this Zombie Town section as part of the main Bixby Grant story, and it didn't work out that way. And I was like, well, let's use this for the backup. So it's this is actually an underground zombie fight club where they pit zombies against each other. I don't say this in the story, but they would smear each other with like brains and stuff, so they go after each other because otherwise they would just kind of stand around.
See, you thought about that though, because my first thought was like, why are they fighting each other?
I did.
I was like, well, I got shit else to do. Like, I'd fight someone if I was bored.
I mean, they're trapped in this pop-o-matic cube here, so they got to do something, right?
Yeah,
that's true. That is really true.
The darker look to the art really works. Really does. It's a much moodier, much darker look. It's really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, Gonzalo's very talented.
You have like 2 distinct different things here going. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to mix it up. I don't want everything to be the same. Like I do want to build this world that Bixby. It's called Harbor City, and so each book is called a Harbor City mystery, like you used to see on the old Dell books up at the top. And so, but that could change. It could be a Harbor City mystery featuring, Detective Ramirez, or it could be featuring Diego or any of my other characters at some point.
Good stuff.
Thanks. So then we have these are the variant covers. We have the main cover by Gonzalo, and then this one is by Gabriel Hardman. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He has done some work for Marvel and DC over the last 20 or so years.
Nice.
I first became aware of him on Agents of Atlas at Marvel. He's working with Jeff Parker on that, and then he's done. It was a fantastic book. I love that book. And then most recently, the thing that I picked up of his, he did Invisible Republic, which was his creator-owned book at Image. He did some Planet of the Apes stuff where he was just writing, and then he wrote and drew the Earth One Green Lantern graphic novels for DC a few years back. His day job, however, I find more interesting in that he is a storyboard artist on the last Indiana Jones movie, and on Logan, and on Dark Knight, and a bunch of other really big action movies. The one of the Superman movies, and like he's just a phenomenal artist. He's a friend of a friend. So I was really lucky to be able to get him to do this, and I think it turned out awesome. I'm really excited about this. We're actually giving a poster away. We had a early bird special where you could get a 20 by 30 poster of this.
Nice.
A fold out poster, so you don't have to get a tube and a box with your comic.
I was about to ask, how the hell do you ship something like that? But you answered that question.
Yeah. Now I know this may not be that interesting to the listeners, but to all the creators here. We have to figure out how to ship this stuff, right? So I actually made it so that the poster folds down to the same size as the comic and slips right into the box at the same size.
Great idea.
Thank you. The best, my editor Heather, the best piece of advice she gave me when she talked to me about my first Kickstarter was she's like, make everything flat. Don't do anything that's not going to be flat. Even if you add 10 items, have them all be thin and flat. Don't do t-shirts, don't do any kind of ball or statue or
I did
anything like that,
enamel
so-
pins for like my first 3 Kickstarters, and even fitting those in the Gemini mailer with that, like, worrying about it, leaving some sort of imprint by the time the
comic,
person
yeah.
opened it up. Like, luckily I had no complaints, but after that I was just like, first of all, pins are too damn expensive, and also like then you can't ship the media mail, and then it becomes even more expensive. Suddenly something that was like $4 to ship is like $12 to ship to California, and you're just like, I hate everything. Yeah, flat. I love flat stuff.
I envy you guys. Honestly, I worked with Red Stylo Media for a couple of years, and I did a bunch of Kickstarters with them. And I don't know if I could ever do it again. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you have the. I don't know, man.
I gotta tell you,
Spite.
I'm at the end of this one and I'm exhausted. Like it's not even that you're physically doing anything all the time. It's just like you get this knot in your shoulder of like, are we gonna make it? And I know that I probably will, because we're pretty close at this point. I'm like 96% funded and I still have 8 days to go. And I know a lot of things.
Like, oh, well, like 8 people could cancel. I could lose like $1,000. Like anything can happen. Yeah, it just takes up so much space in your head.
It takes up way too much space. I reached out to creators to cross promote that I already did 3 weeks ago, not remembering. I just have like this fuzz from doing this Kickstarter now for 3 weeks.
Yeah, but everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. They all understand.
Yeah, they do. And then enough time goes by, and you're like, hey, I'll do another one.
That's why I self-published out of pocket this time, because one, I knew this book was a one-shot, so I knew I didn't need to create a following for it, except hopefully to sell it. But also I could not see my way clear to doing a Kickstarter my first time. I had so much stress and uncertainty in just getting the book to print. Just getting it from script to print. It's like, I can't add that. I was lucky I picked up some good people, on the team to work with. But man, I don't know. Maybe next time. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean the luckily I'm not beholden to the funds from the Kickstarter to finish the book. The book is actually all done.
Oh, that's always good to hear.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that, like, I've learned that from a couple other people. Our cohort, Charlie Stickney, who's on our Discord server, he's like, get it done as soon as possible. And so, like, I think he was like,
have it at least like 80% done by the time you launch, so that like people feel more confident about backing, because there are times like people have been burned too many times where it's like, I'll start working on this once funds are cleared, and it's like 3 years later and like you haven't heard a peep from them.
I know.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. That's okay.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll get one in the mail and I'll be like, oh, I forgot I even backed this one. It was from like 2 years ago.
That happened to me recently, actually.
And I have to say, Kickstarter backers are pretty forgiving as long as you're giving them honest and frequent updates.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if you just go dark, man, that's kind of a jerk move.
Yeah, we've seen it, but for the most part, I think I've been very happy with pretty much every Kickstarter I've backed. There's one or two that are pretty famous, pretty famously ditched people. But for the most part, I think it's been a great platform. I'm amazed at how much we raised that way for comics. I'm amazed at how many comics come out that way. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, not having had Kickstarter actually hurt me when it came to my original sales, because I didn't have that promotion channel that you create for a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So when the book came out, I had to really, I was trying to build towards my print date, but I had nothing to channel it through. I was doing it all myself, just trying to pull something up. I didn't have that word Kickstarter in the tweet or, in the Facebook post to help drive it, because it does help drive it a little bit. I did see that this time. But it was much harder to get attention, even on review sites and even on promotion sites. It's much harder. They want to know what your Kickstarter is, and I'm like, there isn't one. Sorry. It was weird. It was very interesting to go from that angle.
Chuck, I'm curious. How did you tackle it from a marketing standpoint? If you weren't going to be building your audience through Kickstarter, like, what was your kind of
Twitter wasn't on fire at the time. I ran a website called whatyourreading.com for about 10 years, which was a fairly decent review site. So I was able to reach out to most of the people that I had worked with and most of the websites that I had dealt with on some levels. I got a bunch of interviews up.
Oh, cool.
I got a lot of friends to cross promote. I have a lot, I had Erica Schultz in my corner as my production editor. So she was really helpful in getting the word out. And it worked out well. I mean, the book's selling. It's not, it didn't explode on the scene, but it's out there and people are reading it and it's great. It's
Cool.
And again, I wasn't really necessarily looking for that. I did Eternal Con this year out in Long Island by me, and it was nice to see how many people had heard of it, and then how many people like took the pitch really well and just bought it. It was really cool to do it this way.
Like Ralph.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun to do. I don't know what's next. Yeah, like Ralph. Yeah, Ralph's. Oh, I felt so bad for him. Come on, I'm going to put you on camera. Talk about the book, and I'm like, don't put me on camera. I'll talk to you another time. I'm way too shot to be on camera right now. I felt so bad that day.
I worked with him though. I took some video of the book because it looks fantastic.
Yep.
And I put some music on it, and boom, we have something.
I was very lucky. I came across this artist, Jeremiah Sheik, just looking for people, and I came across this guy, and he will be working for a long time. He has a really good eye. He does wonderful work, and he's great to work with, which helped. But I can't, he was another one. He helped promote the hell out of the book. He helped get it out there. He helped get it sold. So I can't, it's nothing better than having a good team. It's nothing better than that.
Absolutely.
Completely.
You're killing me. The names are dropping. Are all guys I used to interview. All guys who used to send me press releases. Gabe and all these Stick. These are all guys I've dealt with at the website. But once you get out of that, once you stop doing the journalism end, it's a weird world to be a part of. Making whole new roads, starting over.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, anytime I dip my toe into like, I gotta get this comic in, it turns into a whole other thing. So I get what you're saying.
It's interesting.
So I'm looking at this, and some of these books look awfully familiar.
Yeah, they should.
So this is so if you support your book, you're gonna give these out as the digital, as one of those digital incentives, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's the Indie Comics budget bundle, and which you can get for I think just even for $1 if you support the campaign. For $1, you get those 5 comics as PDFs.
All solid comics, especially that Sacrimony. I hear very good things about the creator and a lot of bad things, but good things about the book.
I heard the book is fantastic. I can't speak to the creator. That's you'll have to go online and fish around for some.
They're very elusive, I hear.
Yes.
I hear she can't even afford to pay herself.
Yeah, it's tough times.
But yeah, we also have
people do this.
I think it's great. I mean, we were just talking about cross promoting, right? This is a great way to help other people get word out about their book, because these are all the first issues of other creators' series. So it goes back a little ways. Most of these people have, and Mata, I don't know I can't remember how many books you have out so far of Sacrimony.
I have 6 single issues and a trade paperback of 1 through 5.
Okay, so I think pretty much everybody here, except for Mandrill, has like 5 or 6 issues. Wow. And so this is a good way for them to build awareness of their product. So the next time they have a campaign, they can get some more eyeballs and some recognition from people, right? They say it takes 7 or 8 different mentions of a product before it actually registers with a consumer. And I mean, that's like a kind of old marketing rule of thumb. But so anytime you can get your stuff in front of people, even if it's that kind of, oh yeah, I think I know that, but you really don't. You just maybe have heard it somewhere and it registered somewhere in the back of your head but it's still getting that out there really helps. So it's great. And I have done the same for some other folks' campaign with my previous Bixby Grant graphic novel, again, in hopes of getting people to jump on my new projects. So this is only my second one, so I'm hoping to build an audience over time, which is I think what most people are trying to do on here, right?
The dream. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it really is
completely the dream. Let's see, what else do we got down here? Shipping, stretch goals.
Yeah. So we haven't hit the stretch goals yet. I'm hoping a little later this week we'll start to, but we'll have to see.
I see you got some pretty decent stretch goals here.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so I gave away some stickers with the last one, and I got 2 new ones ready to go for this one, 2 new designs. I've got some digital wallpapers of the Gabriel Hardman cover that we looked at before that you can put on your phone.
Cool.
I'm going to have a PDF of the script, which I realize now the PDF of the script, I did the lettering, so I tweaked the script while I was lettering. So the script no longer matches up with what you get in the final thing. So if you're into process stuff, which I am, I'm a process junkie. I love looking at thumbnails and scripts and markups in the script and revisions and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
It'd be kind of a fun thing to look through it and then compare it to the comic to see what could have been.
Yeah, I love doing that, going like, what changed? Like, what
exactly.
changed? Why'd they change it? And then you start trying to figure out, like, oh, well, why did this work better? And like, it's fun stuff. Also, like, it's good that you have digital rewards because, like, some people just straight up forget about digital backers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, like, very good. 10 out of 10.
No, I don't know. I picked that up from looking at somebody else's campaign, but whoever, it was probably Charlie, to be honest. But it was somebody on there who was like, don't forget about your digital folks. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Because then you really are, pulling the rug out from under them. If they're giving you their, $6, $5 for the digital copy, they deserve to have as many of these other stretch goals too. They helped you get there, right? So
exactly. And there's no overhead for giving them more digital stuff. So it's like you would be kind of a jerk not to. I learned it through doing a survey with my mailing list. I was like, oh, what future rewards do you want to see? I think it was for like Sacramony 3 or whatever. And I had like all of these physical items, and then there was like a write-in option. And so many people were writing and like, what about digital backers? What are you doing for digital backers? I was like, oh my God. My God, what have I done?
Yeah, I felt bad last year. I didn't even think about including all 3 covers for digital backers. And I didn't give them the pinups. Like, I'm like, why wouldn't I do that? It costs nothing. Mm-hmm. It just is creating a PDF with a few more pages in it. So this time around, I'm making sure that I'm taking care of my digital backers. Excellent.
And I see you doing the same thing with add-ons here. I see a good amount of add-ons because I feel like some Kickstarters or some companies tend to forget that maybe it'll be a good place to sell the rest of the books.
Yeah, back catalog, dude. Get rid of all of that stuff.
I don't have much of a back catalog, so I'm trying to milk it as much as I can. But I do have, all 3 covers from the last campaign for Wolf She Cried. I'm offering them again with the metal cover as we did, which were much more popular than I was anticipating. When I first heard like, oh, you can print them on metal, I was like, no thanks. And then I saw how many people ordered them, and I was like, whoa, okay, well.
Yeah, there's a market for it. It's so weird because, like, personally, I like holochrome covers because they're like soft and shiny. And like when you hold the metal cover, like, I don't trust myself with it. I'm like, am I gonna like wreck this somehow? It feels wrong because there's like this big floppy metal cover, and then there's like the paper attached to it. Like, but you know what?
My name is already Ralph, so you know I'm gonna wreck it.
But I'm gonna wreck it. Yeah, I was very skeptical, and then I got one in the mail, and I was like, "This is actually pretty cool." Like it, I probably personally would still prefer, the regular edition if I'm ordering one, but I like offering it. People seem to dig it, and this time, actually, just last week, we added a new tier for a blacklight metal cover for the Leanna Kangas cover because she has these kind of neon 80s tones on hers, and they show up really cool under blacklight. So.
That's going to look amazing. You need to post a picture of like a glow-in-the-dark shot of it.
Yeah.
I will for sure. So yeah, this is the team. I mentioned, Gonzalo, actually the Gonzalos earlier. Our other secret weapon is Arthur Hesley, the colorist, who really, he's working right now for Marvel on the new Thunderbolts book. And he does some other freelance work. He, I think, is in Brazil. So not a Gonzalo, but from South America. And he is awesome. We were looking to create some kind of full color noir, which I know makes no sense. But I think he did that. Like, it
makes sense to me.
Y'all nailed it.
Yeah, you nailed it.
I think he did. I think he took a big swing, and I think it paid off. I gave him, for example, the Greg Smallwood type of art, like on the what was the book he just did with Tom King? Human Target. It was that kind of early '60s Robert McGinnis kind of painting, kind of mid-century vibe, and he gave it kind of a modern twist, which I think works really, really well.
Yeah, like I think people forget that you need a whole team in order to get this done.
You really
except
do.
Except for Sorcier, she does it all by herself.
I also have no life, so you know that.
Yeah, well, you have youth on your side. I am old and have very little time. So
I don't think that I am as young as you think I am. I don't know. All those human sacrifices.
We're just older than you think we are.
Oh, maybe.
Could be.
That might be true.
All right, well, we'll see our ages on 3. 1, 2, 3, 38.
Older than
54.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, 54, kid.
52.
I'll catch up eventually.
Doing this a long time.
I'm almost 52.
Doing this a long time. This is like 4th career. You kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Heather has been unbelievable. I originally contacted her to talk about Kickstarter because she does consulting, on an hourly basis. And then once I did a 7-page story to kind of try out with Gonzalo Martinez and see if he was going to be a good fit, because he had never really done this type of story before. I mean, he was clearly a great artist, but I didn't know if it was going to be a good match. So I paid him to do a 7-page story, because you always pay your artists no matter what, even if it's a trial. And it worked pretty well. So using that, I went to Heather and said, I know you're probably too busy, but I want to do this one-off graphic novel, this story. And she's like, yeah, I have time. I mean, she's group editor at IDW for Star Trek and a whole bunch of other stuff. And she does all of Declan Shalvey's books. I was like, there's no way she's going to say yes. And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. I was like,
she's an android.
She has to be. She has to have clones or something. Because I honestly don't know how she does everything that she does.
Or she doesn't sleep. I don't know. Those are my only 2 options. I don't know, anything else.
Or she's got clones that don't sleep. But however she does it, I don't care. Like, she's really good and really fast. She will take a look at the script and be like, this isn't working. That's not working. Change this. I mean, she's been doing this for a long time and at a high level. So people have asked me, they're like, how did you get Heather to be your editor? And the honest answer is, I don't know.
You asked nicely.
You asked.
I think it was the right place, right time. Maybe I didn't seem like a jerk, and here we are. So that was, we started working together 2 years ago. And she helped me get the Raphael Albuquerque to do the cover for my first one. She's just awesome. So and then you could see there's also Gabriel is mentioned down there, and I think Lana Kangas, who's also a rock star. And yeah, it really does take a whole team. I waited so long to do this project. I really didn't want it to suck, which is what I told Heather in our first meeting. And she's like, really? You don't want your big project to suck? And she gets it. Right. But so, I wanted, I sold off a lot of my comic book collection to fund this. I saved up for a long, long time. And so luckily I was able to get this kind of dream team to work with me.
No, you nailed it. You put together a hell of a team.
That's what it is.
There are no games on that list. Yeah.
Thank you. I did learn something for my 20 or so years as an art director and creative director in the tech industry, which is, you want a team that's better at everything than you. You don't want to hire somebody who's as good or worse than you at the things that you're hiring them for, right? So if you're good at management but understand the creative process, get somebody else who's really good at the actual doing of the illustration or the lettering or what have you. So the first book I did, actually, speaking of lettering, Steve Wands did the lettering for me. He works with Heather quite a bit. He works for DC. He works for Marvel. He works for Dark Horse. And he was awesome to work with. But for now that I'm doing a bunch of single issues, I decided to take that on myself. I have done lettering before, never at a professional level. I am a graphic designer by background, which is what lettering is. So that's been a learning process too. It does. It saves me a little bit of coin. And as much as I would rather fork over the money and have Steve or someone else do it, I have to be realistic. I did it the first time around because, again, I wanted everything to be just right. I didn't know if I was going to do another one. Let's just, let's spend some of that money that I got from selling my collection off. So, this time around, not so much. Sorry, I feel like I'm monopolizing this conversation.
Oh no. Chuck, had a good conversation between all of us. But
I had a question for you. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ralph.
I was going to say, speaking of which, I know that Chuck was talking about how beautiful his book looks. So I am going to show you guys, that he's not lying, because it really is. I got to say, when I was walking by the table, it really caught my attention.
Oh, that is slick.
I was very lucky. Just what you were talking about before. I was wondering what I was going to do with it. Jeremiah did great interiors, but I wanted to get a cover. And I was looking at all these different cover artists who I love, and Roberta and Granada kept popping up. I said, I can't ask this woman to do a cover for me. Come on, she's going to do a cover for me. Yeah. And Erica yelled at me, as Erica did through this entire project, and told me, send her an email and ask her. And she was so wonderful to work with. And she was so just gracious and together. And we worked through concepts together. And it was really a fun process. But it was another one of those things where you go like, there's no way. I mean, asking Erica, I've known Erica 11 years. Asking her to help me with this book was easy. It was just like, please let me pay you to do what you do, please. But the other stuff like hiring Jeremiah, hiring Roberta, this is stuff I had never done before. Never, again, just this is that first time where you say like, people are going to just go, no. People are going to look at the script and go, no. And they didn't, which was amazing. But she did some wonderful work. And Jeremiah's interiors are just spot on. The guy knew exactly what I wanted to do. He knew what look I wanted. And he was just there every time. Every time I had a question, he said, yeah, okay, we'll work around that. Let's try it again. Let's look at this again. And as you said, I mean, when I first reached out to him, he did a concept piece for me. And I decided I wanted to use that concept piece. So I paid him for the concept piece because that's what you do. That's how you foster a good relationship. That's how how you say, this is somebody, I want to work with. So now I'm using that for other stuff. I hope I can get him again on the next book I do, because he just had I love the way he does expressions. I love his character designs. I love his layouts. I really had fun working with him. And there is something, if you're a writer, there's just something unbelievably cool about seeing the script come back as visuals, even as thumbnails, doesn't matter. Yeah. The minute it does it, because I am not an artist. I was a very mediocre artist in my teens. To see this stuff just blows you away. You're like, oh, come on, man. How'd you do that? That's what I asked you to do, but it looks good. It's just amazing. It's so much fun.
It's wonderful that you can still feel that way too after a long time. It's just like, ooh, here it comes. I can't wait to see it. And it's just, you know what I mean? Like it's at our age and still working on these things, and it's still wonderful gives me hope.
Well, also, I mean, the only things I had written were anthologies, and most of the anthologies I had been in were you pitched, they said yes, great, okay, you send a script in, and you don't see it till it's published. Only maybe 2 out of the 5 I was in did I actually get any input into, the production of the art.
Really?
Which was unbelievably frightening.
They paired you, they randomly paired you with an artist, and you didn't get to pick your team or anything? Interesting.
Because I went in as a writer. I just pitched as a writer. I never came in with a team. So yeah, it was just assigned, and boom, it came out. Red Stylo does really great work. They have some really good stuff, all literary anthologies. And it was fun to work with, but it was a completely different experience this time, This was just, a whole different world to that. And again, I will say, out of all those experiences, they were wonderful experiences. I'm so glad I have those books. I'm so glad I was a part of them. The one I did get to do a lot with was Rockabilly Rambler, which was a 48-hour comic project out of Minnesota. That one I had a bunch of stories in, and I worked with the artists, and that was fun. But this was a whole different, again, a whole different experience. Just so much fun, and so rewarding, all the way through. Even parting with the money,
It does. It looks
Thank
beautiful.
you. Again, Jeremiah's got about 3 or 4 books out right now. Hush Ronan is one of his books. He has some stuff bouncing around out there. If you can find his stuff, buy it. It's totally worth it. He's a good writer too.
Chuck.
It annoys the hell out of me. What's that?
I was going to ask you because right here in front of me, you can see that you can actually buy the book online through this service. So I figured you might want to explain that a little bit.
Well, Global Comics is a digital only platform. They do subscription based and individual purchase. So if you have a subscription to Global Comics, you can read the book. You can download it for an extra fee. I sell it in print through my site, What You Read in Press. But they were doing a carpet bombing campaign for a while, Global Comics, trying to get people on. And I had been selling it digitally through my site, which is fine, but the turnaround is too slow. Like I get an email saying you want it, then I have to email you. I figured, let me try these guys. And I like the site. It's nice. It's clean. They haven't paid me yet. We'll see how that goes. But it's also, they promote, which is nice. They promote the books on their site, which is cool. So their channel is another channel.
I think, I don't know if they started it, but they're also doing a print on demand thing. I don't know if you heard anything about that yet.
I didn't sign up for that because I have too much stock.
There.
I have enough to sell. So that's not going to happen. Yeah. Not for me. I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked into print on demand enough personally. Like that was one of the problems with making a comic. I wanted to hold my comic in my hand. I wanted copies to bring to a comic book convention and sell it at the table. Having been on the other side of the table for so many years, walking around with a microphone and a notebook, I really wanted to stand back there. And again, when I worked for Red Stylo, I was behind the table selling our stuff. But again, not the same thing. Not your name on the program, not your booth. Even if the books on there have your name in them, it's not the same.
It's someone else's baby, or it's more like a daycare center because it's a lot of people's baby.
Yeah, you were involved in it, but it's not the same. So I wanted stock, and I have stock, and I'm actually doing WinterCon in December with this
cool.
book, we're going to be there. It's another Queen show. Yeah, I assumed we'd hang. It'll be a fun show.
Are they still
same guys?
That's the same guys. The racetrack thingy.
Oh no, they're at what used to be the racetrack thingy.
Well, the casino.
Is the racetrack thingy.
Yeah.
What's the casino? Casino. There you go.
Resorts World. Yeah.
Exactly.
It should be fun. It's an old person's convention as far as I'm concerned because they have the entire cast of Farscape coming, which I'm going to have somebody cover my table while I go get an autograph because that's just too good.
Though you're right. It is an old man.
Oh, come on, Farscape! Come on, man. This is Jim Henson stuff. This is the good stuff. So it should be fun. But like for me, again, it's one of those things where I covered that con the first 2 or 3 years it was out. I interviewed great people at that show. I made a lot of friends at that show at Asbury, at all, Eternal, all the small shows, and New York Comic Con. Those people were the people I turned to when I wanted to make this book. That's how I met Erica. That's how I got into that whole circle. All those people she came up with are all people I met Heather at a signing in Manhattan years ago with Mario and that whole crew. They're good people, and it's great to see them succeeding. And it's also not bad to be able to send somebody an email and say, how do I do this, and what is it going to cost me? It's really nice. I'm the best business for that. It really is. I have had nothing but encouragement and good interactions with every professional I know in this business, and that says something. That really does say something about the kind of people who do this, because you don't see that in music, you don't see that in film, and you don't see that in novels. You really don't. No. Comics is a very singular situation. Happy to be part of it.
It feels like everyone.
Because... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. If it feels like it feels like everybody's in it together. You know what I mean? Like we're all locking arms and like, all right, let's go get it. And that's one of the things I've always loved about comics is you can go to conventions and the creators are approachable, and for the most part, there's some jerks, but by and large, everybody is super happy to help out and give tips and give feedback or whatever it is, or refer you to somebody else who might be able to help. And that's something that I've always loved about this industry.
And yeah, it has to do with like how you guys were saying that it's a team effort. Like there are so many people involved, and like they know other people who know other people, and it's just like it's like an actual network of people.
Yeah. It is. Mm-hmm.
Because like even though I'm like kind of in it by myself, I'm my own like writer, editor, or whatever, like I'm still meeting more people who are like, asking me like, oh, can you do interiors for this? Like, can you do a cover for that or whatever? So it's still like slowly branching out. Like just Meet more people.
You know, of all the people here, I thought we would lose me before Chuck.
Wow, yeah.
Isn't that is
He'll be back
Chuck
in a
in New
minute.
York with you guys?
Yeah, Chuck. I think Chuck lives close by. I'm not sure where exactly
I think
he
he's on
lives.
Long Island.
But I think he's in the area.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there he goes. Hold on.
Sorry about that, guys. I dropped.
Through completely.
The computer tech lost internet access. And I'm a tech for a living.
Oh, wow. We thought it was going to be Ralph first to drop, but he's still here, still strong.
Yeah.
My son's probably playing Fortnite. That's all it takes. You know?
Gotta get.
I missed what you were saying. Patrick, about the business.
Oh, just that it's super approachable and everybody's kind of in it together and willing to help.
Mm-hmm.
It's what one of the things when I started, I used to have my own, along with my partner Shannon Eric Denton, had a comic called company called Comic Works back in like 2000. And when I started going to shows as a what's the word I'm looking for? Oh man,
a guy.
My brain. As a person.
Publisher.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. An exhibitor. Damn. Yes, I'm a writer and I can't think of words. But man. Anyways, being at the shows and chit-chatting with people and having them look at your stuff and whether it's looking at somebody else's portfolio or having a beer with people afterwards and just kind of rubbing elbows and hobnobbing, and everyone was just so approachable. I mean, there's definitely people who have beefs with one another. Like there's definitely some shady things going on, usually at the business level, less so on an interpersonal level. But there are some egos like there are in any industry, but everyone seems to really want to help each other. And that is super attractive at a business that is so hard, right? So like there's only a handful of really, really good gigs in this industry. And so, like, Chuck, I think you said something before, which is like your expectations are not that you're going to blow the doors off anything, right? It's just you want to get your work out and have people appreciate it or, just even consider it. Yeah. Just get it out, man. It doesn't have to, I don't have to be writing Spider-Man. I'd rather be doing my own stuff at this point in my life.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's just, it's pretty awesome.
Definitely.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, we know. Ralph. We see how you run around a convention floor. You are really having fun.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
and that's the whole thing, though.
Like, how many shows are just dedicated to comics and like making comics and indie comics, and like how many podcasts there are, how many YouTube channels? Like, I don't know if it's because that's just the bubble I hang out with, but like I don't think there's a lot of other fields that have the same level of like dedication to getting stuff out there.
And that is really newer than you think it is. When I launched What You're Reading 11 years ago, I was coming out of New York Comic Con and I wanted to write about comics because there were very few sites that were writing about comics, believe it or not. There were a couple of big ones, but I didn't care about that. I wanted to write about, there was a book at the first convention I was at called American Dark Age, which was a little self-published book that these two guys had done. And it was just such a good book that I wanted to tell somebody. So I started a blog because that's what you did. You know what I mean? You just got out there and you wrote about
what you did.
And they're really, and over that 10, 12-year span, I really did see that world, that not the zine world, because the zine world's always been there. There's always been people who just want to make stories and staple them together and get them out there. I mean, comic book creators who are forming teams and making books and hiring artists and hiring editors, people who are doing it just like the big guys, just on a smaller scale. That has really come into its own in the last bunch of years. And it's so much fun to watch and it's so much fun to be a part of. But there's so many people out there trying to do it and doing such a good job that it's a little daunting, but it's also a lot of fun. When I saw my book on the shelf at my local comic shop and it was selling right next to everybody else's, and my local guy was pushing it just as hard as he pushed anything else, it was amazing. And you do immediately go like, oh yeah, I know him. Wait, oh, he's writing for that. Oh wow, you got a gig with them. Cool. You're like, I know all these guys. All these guys have been in the business for 10 years and 12 years have been doing it. It's such a rewarding thing to see. It really is. That's Erica is probably the biggest one right now, who's lighting up right now. She's doing, she got a Daredevil book coming out, right? And she's got a Hobgoblin. She had all sorts of stuff going on in Marvel, which is just wonderful. Because this is a kid who I saw in a convention selling her M3 graphic novel that she had done. That was, she hadn't done anything except her own stuff yet. To see that, you go like, yeah, that's it. That's what you want to see. You want to see somebody who just hammers away at it and gets to do cool stuff. So yeah, this is the industry for that. Definitely. And I can't wait to read yours because I got to go back it after this. Let's see. Where's the link?
Exactly.
I will definitely be downloading yours.
I'm going to make it easy for everybody. I'm going to take that link and put it in the comment section.
Chat. Yeah.
That way you guys can just go right from the comment
section. You have a week left, Patrick? You said you have a week left, Patrick? You said you have a week left?
Yes.
On the campaign?
Yeah, next Tuesday is the last day. A week from tomorrow is the last day.
Cool. Okay. This is the stretch.
I really would like 200 backers.
You'll get there.
We're so close to 200 backers. Yeah.
I think I will. It'll start to pick up in the last couple of days again. And, intellectually I know that, but I'm like, oh, come on.
But what if nobody backs it ever again? I have
exactly. I'm getting lost in the flow with all the newer books coming out. And it's like, that's not really how it works.
No, it isn't. But the brain, it does the gymnastics that are unnecessary.
It's a reverse bell curve, isn't it? It is just a reverse curve. You see it. That's the way Kickstarters work. You usually see
I am in the doldrums right now, and now it'll swing back the other way. I got very spoiled, and this is a humble brag. Last year, I funded in 24 hours, but that was also because it was like my first project, and like all friends and family, showed up, and so I knew I couldn't count on this. This time. So last year, I had 300 backers. If I get to 200, that will already be 50% more than I thought that I would get this time around.
I'm going to say 240.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, you've done a lot of these, so you would know.
I still don't know jack shit, but I'm going to say 240. Every time I think I know something, like the metrics always change or like the numbers always change. And I'm like, okay, so this doesn't follow a pattern. But yeah. I'm thinking 240 at least.
Okay. So Patrick, with Twitter being a garbage fire, what have you been using to promote?
I continue to use Twitter, believe it or not. I wouldn't have, except for it was really the key to my success last year. So Carl Kiesel started retweeting me, and that's how I got to be friends with him. There was a couple other people who picked it up. That's how I started seeing Charlie's name bandied about. And so I just stayed there. I honestly got more traction there than I did on any of the other ones combined. Less so this time. Not surprisingly, but still a lot more retweets. Yeah, there's more noise for sure, but there's also people have left, right? So I am also on Threads. I am also on Facebook, which is where I get most of my leads. I'm also on Blue Sky because someone threw me an invite on there. I'm on Insta. I'm on LinkedIn. So I do all that stuff.
Wow. It's so
exhausting.
Much.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't even do like half of the things that you're on, and I'm just like it's so tiring.
Well, I got halfway through the campaign. I was like, look, I'm not doing it every day anymore. Like, I'm just not. Like you start off with really good intentions, right? Like, I'm going to do 2 posts a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and then I'm going to stay on top of it and make sure that I'm chatting back to people and reposting stuff.
Exactly.
And then you're like, God.
And then I'll track those, and I'll figure out which one did better. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Especially since Twitter lets you track the numbers now too. Tracking the views and all of that. Other
I feel like it's
things
more
that...
like an abuse for us.
It's so tiring and exhausting. And I'm like, I can't look at this anymore, and I can't deal with like the adrenaline rush, ups and downs of all the likes and the reposts, and it's just like it's too much.
The good thing is we are live on Twitter right now, so hopefully,
hey everybody.
When you think of something like especially clever and you post it and you're like, oh man, people are gonna get a kick out of this, and then it's like Deadsville, and you're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you put up something stupid, and everybody goes, "Oh my god!" and you're like, "What the?"
Or you put up something unrelated to your comic that's just like, oh, I tripped over my shoe today, and it's like 200 reposts or something, and you're like, what is this?
Right.
Well, that's what killed me with Facebook. Because I tried to promote on Facebook, but it's all friends and family. It's all, for me, it's all friends and family at this point. My comic book friends are all on Twitter. So you try to stick with Twitter because that's where it seems to be. But still, just, we'll figure it out, right?
Abuse, all of it.
I suddenly, out of nowhere, got 400 new followers on Threads yesterday.
Whoa.
And I don't know where that came from, other than somebody started a meme, which was, if you're an artist, follow me and I'll follow you back. And basically, so everyone was doing their own flavor of that, right? And some people felt like you had to show proof or were just showing their wares. It was a really great way to see all the people that were on there and all the stuff that was on there.
Right.
And so all of a sudden it just kind of blew up. And now I have more followers on Threads than I ever did on Twitter, which is, who knows? I mean, that could work well for the next campaign. But we'll see. I mean, that's why you do it, is hopefully over time you're building an audience.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out Threads as it is.
That's the other thing I really envy with the Kickstarter model, because when your campaign is done, you've sold X amount of books, you've hit the number you wanted to hit, and you can then start planning your next campaign. I'm still selling my book. I got to sell my book forever. You know what I mean? And when the next book comes up, I have to keep selling that book. There is no window. There's no 30 days. You know what I mean? It's how do you keep promoting the same thing on Twitter for a year, while you're working on the next thing? It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's, you start to feel like you're beating people over the head, but you have to keep doing it.
And
that's one of the reasons why I jumped on Global Comics. But that's one of the reasons why I jumped on Global Comics, because I figured, okay, let them promote it for a little while. At least it's not me. Let somebody else bang the drum for a few days.
Right. Yeah. When I get done with this campaign, I'm going to start looking into digital distribution a little bit more. Global Comics for sure, but there's a couple other ones too that I'm going to kick the tires on and see.
That's one of the good things. Yeah, they don't ask for exclusivity, which is nice. I'm not going to sign up with an exclusive platform. Yeah, there's no way.
No, there's no point in that.
Yeah, it feels like it just puts handcuffs on you.
That is
totally
a perfect metaphor, actually.
Well, especially for self-publishers, we're obviously not those people.
So, folks, we are at 4,521, 193 backers, 9 days to go. So there's plenty of time to get him to 6,000. That's an easy do. There's only 15.
No, you're supposed to say there's time is running out. Go back this quickly. There is no plenty of time.
Limited time.
Do it now.
Yeah, no FOMO.
There you go.
Out the window.
There you go.
Dude, they should do it now, because this just looks fantastic. Who doesn't want to see a story about a mummy detective? That already, I'm already going, mummy detective
with emotional baggage.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, lots of baggage.
And I have to say, he looks great, which means he really stands out. It's not like the run-of-the-mill detective or whatever you've seen. He has a unique look to him.
Because he's a mummy.
Exactly.
With the fedora.
Yep.
Yeah. I get Dark Man sometimes. I get Invisible Man sometimes. Or who's the dude from Doom Patrol? Phantom.
Negative Man?
Negative Man. Thank you. But yeah. And then I say, no, he's a mummy. And people are like, oh, yeah, okay.
But it's so funny because I'm looking at him and I didn't think of any of those guys.
My first thought was mummy. I was like, dude, there's a mummy with guns. Like, okay, cool. I'm down with that.
Because you guys did a great job. He looks like a mummy.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I can't take credit for Gabriel's work or Gonzalo's work, but they do a really nice job of it. I actually did. What's really funny? I didn't think to show this before, but I found in my sketchbook from 1992 my original sketches of Bixby Grant.
Amazing.
And you can see
I love that.
I originally called it Undead Ink, which then I think Marvel used on one of their books.
They stole your idea. You should sue them.
Yeah, they totally stole it from me when I was in art school.
Yep.
But yeah, so I was the original artist, and the dream was always that I was going to write and draw it. And then I didn't keep up with my drawing skills, to be honest, and I finally had to give that dream up.
I was going to say that looks really nice.
That sketch was solid, though.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That was back when I was in art school and drawing every day. I can still draw okay, but I can't draw fast and I can't draw consistently enough to put out my own book. So that was actually a big learning curve to let go and say like, okay, this isn't going to be what I have in my head or what I know I was going to make. But, luckily I found the right partners to really bring it to life.
So question for you, at what point did you decide to actually let go of the art side of it? And like, was it super hard for you? How did it feel seeing somebody else handling your characters and stuff like that?
Good question.
Yeah. So back when I was doing Comic Works, we put out a bunch of digest-sized black and white anthologies. And I had a 10-page Bixby Grant story in there, and I worked with an artist named Armin Villavert, who's a great, I think he was doing mostly storyboard work. But regardless, that was when I finally had to be like, okay, I had done another story that I drew, and I was like, this is objectively not good. Because in the book we had other people who like Eric Canetti or Keith Giffen or like Dwayne McDuffie, like real Ernie Colon, like real creators of a certain status in the industry, or storyboard artists, or people who drew every single day. And my story really stood out. And I know it was just in there because it was my company, and I can put in whatever I want. And my partner was cool with that. The quality of it was such that I was embarrassed, to be perfectly frank.
Aww.
So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do Bix, which is like my dream project, I'm going to hire somebody who really knows what they're doing. And so at that point, I worked with Armand, who was still up and coming, and I think he did a great job at that point. But then the project changed over the years, and I kind of lost touch with him. And luckily, I was able to get with Gonzalo for this. But it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like seeing things come back and not giving feedback on every little detail was initially super hard. But then you realize, okay, this person's a professional. They've been doing it for 15, 20 years. They know what the hell they're doing. And in fact, they're making suggestions on how to make it better. So you should listen to them. And that comes back to the conversation from earlier where I said, get people who know how to do the thing you want to need to be done better than you. Trust professionals. Like I ask people to do that as a designer. So I should in turn do that to people that I hire to do artwork for me. So there's I don't remember who said it. I think it was William Friedkin, the director. He's like, if you hire Al Pacino, you're going to get Al Pacino. Don't ask him to be like a different, like Robert De Niro. Mm-hmm. If you hire the actor, they're going to do their thing. So if you hire an artist, you can't say, oh, could you be a little more like George Perez? No, they are like them. You can't ask them to be like somebody else. So getting the right fit who has the look you want, and then also the right, kind of personality to collaborate with are two different, but I'd say almost equal parts of this. So that was my learning curve. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's also one of the great things about this industry, because you get the chance to audition them without auditioning them. You can look at people's work without them even knowing, and you can find the guys whose style you love, find the storytellers you enjoy, and then go after them and land them. You know what I mean, and work with them, and that's cool.
100%. Yeah. Right. You can also tell, like looking at somebody, that they're not quite there yet. Like there's something, even if you can't articulate it, you can sense that like they might not be good with backgrounds, or their anatomy isn't quite there with everything, or like for Gonzalo Ruggieri, who's a very different style than Gonzalo Martinez, his characters are a lot more elongated, and they're much more, I would say, almost not quite abstract, but they are definitely elongated and extrapolated out from a normal kind of human frame. But it works because it's consistent throughout. It's his style, whereas Gonzalo Martinez, his all have more traditional ratios and heights and things like that. So, but you can tell by looking at somebody whether their style works, what their strengths are, and what their weaknesses are, even if you're not a trained artist or classical artist, I think. You can just tell. Especially if you've been reading comics your whole life, you can tell what's the real deal and what's not. Or I don't know. That's just I can't put that as fact. That's what I have found. What do you guys think?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's
Yeah.
You spoke to it before when you said you've got to find the fit. You have to find the person that fits, that has the right set of tools that you're looking for.
And that's the other thing. I think people forget sometimes that it's a relationship that you're doing when you're creating these things. And if the person doesn't fit with you, you're going to have a lot of problems trying to get this project off the ground or get it done. You got to know that this person is going to work well with you in order to be able to complete the project that you want to complete, and complete it in a way where it's not so stressful, or less stressful at least.
And where you're not like butting heads over like every single panel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want this. I want that.
That sounds exhausting.
I mean, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to hire an editor too. Is like I don't know.
I was about to ask you if you did that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still a fanboy, right? Like I might be in my 50s, but I still get a little awestruck when I work with a professional. Like, so I don't know, like, what should I ask for? What is okay? What's acceptable? How much am I pushing them? How much should I really expect to be able to give feedback? And so a couple of times I would say to Heather, like, this thing right here, I don't know. She's like, don't worry about it. No one's going to notice. I was like, she's like, I get it. I know why you're saying that, but don't worry about it. And then there'll be other times where I might have noticed something. And I was like, no, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. She's like, hey, did you notice the tangent over here? And I was like, yeah, I did, but should we say something? She's like, of course, absolutely. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. Working with Raphael Albuquerque on the cover, he's an Eisner winner, for God's sake. I was like, and I didn't like the first sketch he gave me, to be perfectly honest. He had it a little different in tone than I had it in my head. And so I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I can't tell
Who are you to tell me what to do? I want an award. Right. You never know, right?
Right. But I mean, his reputation is that he's a very nice guy. But I also like being a creative person. I also don't like hurting people's feelings. Like I'm a people pleaser, and it's hard for me to do that. But also, having been a creative director for 20 years, I know how to give constructive feedback. There's the rule of 3, right? You give 2 bits of things that you like, and then the third one is the thing that you need to work on. So you say, I really like the layout. I really like the palette. But I was thinking that the expression on this guy's face could be a little different. And then you go into details about that.
Oh, you don't do like the sandwich where it's like one positive, the thing you need to work on, and then another positive. I was always taught to do the compliment sandwich.
So yeah, that is another. I kind of do like a Dagwood sandwich. So I do 2 positives, and then the negative, and then I just do like, it's not quite a thing at the end, but I'm like, I really like where this is headed. Like I just kind of give a,
all right. As long as it ends on like a positive note.
Exactly.
Oh, always, right? You have to, because otherwise you don't want to end with like, and then I think it'll look much better. See ya.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, how dare he?
Right. But I got like, really good. No, go ahead.
Oh no, he hates me. He hates what I did.
Right.
He thinks it could be better. I'm the worst.
And as an artist, that's exactly what happens.
Oh my God, I'm always like, scared shitless when I'm like sending in a final commission for a client. Still, it's been like so many years, but still like it's like, oh my God, I hope they really like this. Like there's always that fear of like they'll say, oh well, this finished thing isn't quite what I expected, and like it hasn't happened, like knock on wood, but there's always a first time.
Yeah. I from talking to professionals, that never goes away.
No, it doesn't. But I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I think that's what keeps you from getting complacent as well. Like there are certain people who've been so successful and then get to a certain point where they're no longer given constructive feedback. I don't mean criticism, constructive feedback on how to make things better. That they no longer, care as much. You can feel that they're sometimes either they go a couple different ways. They could either just be going through the motions, or they're like, this is what I want and how I want to go about things, and I'm not going to listen to anybody. I don't need anybody's feedback anymore. I'm so and so, God damn it, and I can do these things. But what's really funny is I heard a story about Bill Sienkiewicz back in the early 90s. So he had already done, Moon Knight, and he had already done The Shadow, and he had done the Daredevil graphic novel, and he was doing the poster for Unforgiven, which the Clint Eastwood movie. Do you guys remember the poster for that, where it's Clint Eastwood looking over his shoulder, and it's mostly just the back of him with some light. Right. And so a guy I knew was the night watchman in the building that Bill Sienkiewicz had his studio in. And he said he would come in at night with a big pot of coffee and Chinese takeout and go upstairs and work all night. And he would come down at like 11 o'clock or 1 a.m. And the guy that I knew who was the night watchman was also an artist. So he had found that out, and he would come down and he would have his canvas, and he worked big, and he would put his canvas down and he would say, Eric, what do you think of this? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't know. I don't think this is really good. And he's like, are you shitting me? Like, you're Bill Sienkiewicz. And he's like, I think I'm going to change my style. Like, change your style. You are one of the most unique artists of the latter half of the century. Like, don't change a brush stroke. But so like that just proves to you that like even people at the top of their game second guess themselves, and
definitely
we shouldn't worry that we do it too. I think it's what keeps you hungry.
Yep, absolutely.
Agreed. I see we are at the 15 mark here. So Patrick, why don't you tell the people all the good stuff so they can find you, and talk about the Kickstarter one more time. Go for it.
Sure thing. All right. So the Kickstarter Bixby grant, Fangs and Brimstone, is about a mummy private eye who's investigating a series of cult-like murders in Harbor City, and he runs afoul of a poltergeist and runs into literally a rockabilly vampire who really wants to help Bix out, much to Bix's chagrin. We've got one more week on the campaign. You can get in to get either a digital copy, or you can get a print edition. We have 3 different covers. We also have metal versions. So please go to Kickstarter and look up Bixby Grant. And if you like what you see, consider being a backer. If you want to find me or hear more about my upcoming stuff, the best place, rather than give you all my socials, because there's like 10 of them, if you go to RNM, as in Robert, Nancy, Michael. Mulligan. That's good. I like that. rnmpress.com. I've got a link to the Kickstarter there, as well as links to all my socials.
And if you're on the Kickstarter, you can actually get the book, your last book, on this Kickstarter too, right?
Correct. Yes. Good point. Yeah, you can get a bundle where you get a $5 off if you get the 2 together, or you can also still just buy it as an add-on too.
Right. There you have it, folks. Go support, because who doesn't want to know about a mummy detective? Come on.
Time's running out. Get it
exactly.
Now.
Go now, dude. Look at this art. Look at this. It's like iconic.
It is.
It really is. Gabriel did such a good job.
Dude, as soon as I saw it, I know I told you, Patrick. As soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, I want to know more about this. I want this guy on the show.
Yeah, it was like I shared it on Facebook, but it didn't put your original post, so I think he thought it was mine, and he's like, "Oh, explain." And I had to be like, "Oh, wait, no, I'm not responsible for this, but I will put you in touch with the person who is."
I do appreciate it.
Oh, anytime.
Now, Chuck, it's time for you to go Sherlock Holmes and tell us all about it.
Oh, all right, let's see. The book is Sherlock Holmes and the Wonderland Conundrum. It is Sherlock Holmes meets the cast of Alice in Wonderland. It is a one-shot. It is available on Global Comics digitally, or you can find it at What You're Reading Press. You can find me on any social anywhere. Just search my name, Chuck Suffel. I'm pretty much everywhere. And if you are in Queens, if you're going to go to WinterCon, come and see me. I'll be in Artist Alley. Come take a look at the book, look at some of the other stuff I've done, and I hope to see everybody there. And go back that Kickstarter. We got to get that
exactly, man. We are a community here, folks. Let's support each other.
Absolutely.
Of course, I will be at WinterCon with Chuck coming up in a couple of months? No, a couple of weeks.
December 2nd and 3rd. Right? December 2nd and 3rd.
Time flies.
December 2nd and 3rd.
How the hell is it November?
Yeah, how
Yeah,
is
it's
it? How
November.
December right around the corner? Thanksgiving is like right there.
My God, Turkey is so close.
Too
Woo!
fast.
And of course, we are in Noirevember, and you guys have enjoyed two beautiful detectives here. And you may enjoy some more stuff as the time continues. And of course, Wednesday on the Written Writ, we will have Phil Russert coming on to talk about his book. It's the horror book he's doing, right?
Is
Yeah,
it Diary of the Dead?
there you go.
Something involving the dead and diaries.
Exactly. It's a love letter to the old classic horror comics from days gone past.
Awesome.
And of course, we might have somebody coming on to further continue their feud between Kip and Jay, and talk about some other things that I feel like Jay's upset now that Kip said.
Oh dear. It's like a game of telephone gone horribly wrong.
That's a drama. Lord.
So much drama.
Anything else, guys, before we go?
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
You
Yeah,
guys
this has
are
been a lot
welcome
of fun. Thanks for having me.
anytime. You guys are welcome anytime. Even if you want to come and guest host, let me know. I'll bring you on. I love talking detectives, and I'm probably going to do a detective show because I do one every year. And I'll probably have you guys on, and we'll all talk poetically about our favorite detectives.
I love it. Let's do it.
Very cool.
My knowledge of detective things is Clue. That's it.
I love Clue.
I
love
do.
the movie
They
too.
were really well
That's
written.
it.
The movie was great too.
Yeah, the movie. Oh my god, especially
love the
the
movie.
endings. The endings.
Come on,
Oh.
that's Tim Curry.
Totally.
All right, folks. On this show, I do this thing here, and folks,